Keeping venomous reptiles is an unforgiving hobby, requiring proper training and lots of experience. One simple mistake can be the difference between life and death. Remember, the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. There are no venomous snakes with training wheels. Just because you see viperkeeper handle snakes a certain way does not mean you should try it too.
Well, it's time for Freckles to get a big cage. She sort of outgrew her tub. I call her Freckles because of all the spots on the head. So she rode this viperkeeper personalized large snake hook from Midwest Tongs. My friend Dana sent it to me. It's meant for larger snakes to spread the loads because it's easy to break ribs on a large bitis, and they generally ride this hook beautifully because things are all spread out. So the load is equally distributed and they don't have to worry about injuring themselves. They stay on the hook a lot better and they don't fall and hit the floor. Now, I didn't feed her on purpose because, you know, large bitis do sometimes act very belligerent and it's easy to drop them on the floor, and if they have a full gut you could rupture their gut. So the large bitis, I have a tendency to move about in between feedings, so if they fall there's nothing in their gut except normal amount of feces that they carry in their back end, so they don't get hurt or seriously injured. Now, since she's got her back end sticking out, we'll do a nice, very close examination of the beautiful scalation that Freckles has. Now that I got rid of that alarm, continue. She's a beautiful girl. She's not going to be used to having light in her cage because she grew up in tubs, and now we'll have a larger cage to move about. And of course, one of the first things that she'll do this afternoon is take a dump. I don't know what she's doing back there, but I have other things to do. Come on. Come on, I knew I got your tuchus. There you go. One thing that I do in the winter time, today was like one of the coldest days on record here in Pennsylvania, is I run the hooks under hot water to warm them up, so we're not putting an ice cold hook on a snake's belly, which could really irritate them. How would you like an ice cold hook applied to your belly when you weren't expecting it? So we'll let her get acquainted with her new cage. I think I'll dump in some water for some humidity. Her water dish is full, so that's Miss Freckles. Apparently, she's expressing her displeasure with me at the moment. Dump some water in the cage. Maybe some of the water tickled her belly. Who knows? But okay, we'll let her settle down. That's probably the best thing we can do with her. So this is an animal you seldom see because it's a snake that live feeds only, and you guys don't get to see live feeds. But he just sort of shed, not completely. These are one of my favorite Protobothrops. This is Protobothrops Gerardoni xanthomelis. Very, very stunningly beautiful snake. Since it's a Protobothrops, that is synonymous with a very bad disposition. So I will sit a little further back while we talk to him. Now this animal was born, I think in like 2007, not in my facility, not in a strict sense, not this building, but he was born at my facility in 2007, and we grew up and dispersed a whole bunch of the offspring, and this is the only one left that I have because the exports from China, where they're found, was sort of shut down. And if the exports are shut down in the legal sense, well, to me that's like, okay, not going to see any more of these. You might see some captive-born imports from Europe, but I haven't seen many of those either. If you look at the top of his head without getting bit, you might want to go around from the back side. They've got these really nice patterns on the top of their head. They can be in all different types of pattern, but I do remember one of the babies having a penis-shaped one on his head. That was pretty interesting. And yes, he was a dickhead in the real sense of the word. I'll have to dig out some photos of him and see if I can insert them in the video and stuff. But any rate,
Insert.
I think, yes, insert the penis head picture, sorry. So, why we're doing this today is primarily because you never get to see this guy, and he is really a very beautiful snake with a very cryptic head pattern. They have pretty potent hemotoxic and cytotoxic venom, and since they're a larger size than the little cornutus, these would certainly be a threat to your life. Now, I have an account by a student, I think it was even a medical student, that was working in China and was out in the fields and stuff and got bit by a close relative of this, Protobothrops gerardoni, not this particular subspecies, and you know, he exhibited lots of pain, swelling, coagulopathy, etc., etc., and you know, of course, the Chinese were trying to treat him with herbal medicine and stuff that, because probably only anti-venom is really sort of reserved for the richer folks, and not your mere peasants or foreigners or something, because they can't make money on peasants. So he didn't get anti-venom, and eventually, you know, he made arrangements to get out of there sooner to a Western country where he was monitored and treated symptomatically and stuff. I probably still have that document from him in my files downstairs, but that's sort of a bite account. Now, these have sort of a grayish pattern when they're babies and just born. They don't have at all the adult patterns. They're very, very different, sort of a grayish, overcast, with no bright colors at all, which help the babies sort of not be so conspicuous like this one. Now, true to form, Bothrops are sort of like landmines. You might be able to disturb them once without going off, But, you know, I guarantee you if I try to put the hook on him again, he's just going to be Bothrops all over the place. So I do want to try to tube him so I can remove the remainder of that shedding. And okay, we're just coming out of winter. It's been very dry. It's been a little bit hard on the animals that live in wetter environments and stuff. And believe me, Lori and I spend a lot of time wetting down cages and watering and putting extra water in, but the humidity in the rooms, you know, drop below 40%, and then we have some shedding issues. But the reason why, you know, okay, normally I would say, hey, look, okay, so he can see, he's got his head plates off, and most of the shedding, it just sort of got stuck on the tail. If it was the very tip of the tail, I might leave it, but it's high up, and we don't want the blood flow constricted to the area of his cloaca, or her cloaca, I'm not sure which sex it is, because what happens if the sheds don't come all the way off the tail, as the snake grows in the confines of a previous shed that was stuck, the blood flow gets cut off. It's sort of like a constriction bandage, and then that part of the tail dies. And we certainly don't want his tail to die up where the cloaca is, because the snake will undoubtedly have to be euthanized, because, you know, his guts are going to be open to the outside, essentially, gangrene, etc., etc. And so we want to get that off and take the chance of helping him shed out. Not that he's going to really appreciate the assistance, but we just have to make sure that, you know, we can get as much of that off so he's okay. Like I said, he's a live eater. Usually don't, you know, I haven't offered him any frozen thawed in a while. You know, I just got tired of, you know, picking out dead, wasted rodents in there, and said, the heck with it, I'm just going to feed them live. So that's what's happened. So this is the adult size and length and stuff, and so this is the Chinese red spot pit viper, or Protobothrops gerardoni xanthomelis. The reason why we're sort of doing this is A, because he's a live feeder, and B, Lori and I wanted, Lori had the suggestion, look, why don't we do some tabletops on some animals so we can sort of feature them. So look for more of these down the road if this thing doesn't kill and bite us first, or bite and kill. So let me get a tube, and hopefully without sending him into orbit prematurely. It's a little small. You scream if he moves.
Believe me, if he moves, you'll hear me scream.
Now, let me show you what we have. Dana at Midwest Tom's, supplier of some of my other equipment in here, makes and sells these plastic tubes, generally of this length, and they've got sets that are larger that you can tube a gaboon viper, because obviously this one's not big enough for Pink's head. So we have a selection of tubes, you know, one size, depending on the critter, all the way down to this baby size, up to, you know, pogo size sort of tubes and stuff. So you try to select the tube that is a little bit large enough so it will, the head will easily fit in there, but not big enough so the snake can turn around inside the tube and come back out and bite you. It's sort of bothering me that he's just sitting there sort of deadpan and not even tongue flicking.
You can see the increased respirations, though. He's upset. He's just
Yeah, he's like, okay,
he's frozen in place.
I'm waiting for it.
Until the right moment.
Yes, and then it's snake hockey time.
Yeah. Yes, in fact, I think I'm going to back up now.
Okay, look, you know, we're doing this hopefully for your benefit and not mine. Okay, so now he's like, alright, dude, I'm gonna get you. You're not gonna come quietly, are you?
Of course not.
You know, sometimes snakes will tube easily and sometimes not. Now, since Jim had that Bothrops Atrox jump over the tube
Yes.
and latch on his wrist, I'm always really, really leery of doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As soon as you touched him, it's, whoa, I'm in orbit.
Yeah, game on. Okay, so if you're going to poop on me, get it over with. Okay, so this is probably a male because his hemipenis are in there, and you can see this area is swollen.
What?
Thud.
Stop doing that, you big lug. Especially not when we have this guy out.
His name is Thud
Yes, that is Thud.
because he always hides up on that upper ledge where it says I hide here, and invariably falls off at some point or another and scaring us. We can be sitting downstairs watching TV. Okay, if you want to go up the tube further, we can do that. It actually gives me less snake to worry about outside the tube. So we can be sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden we hear this big thud, and we've learned over time that particular thud sound is nothing we need to react to because it's just the water cobra falling. And when I moved him over here on top of poor Slinky, I was laughing to myself. Slinky's going to curse me because he's got a neighbor now that goes thud periodically and will probably startle him. So, okay, after a little effort, we got all that off. As you can see, they have a very beautiful pattern on their shed. So, now this guy is all set to go. So I am just going to remove, why I can do so safely, some of his remaining shed and sort of shoot him down the tube. Go on. Because this way he's out and far away from me and I don't have to worry about. People think pinning the snake is the dangerous part. That's not true. You can ask Jim Harrison, who's pinned a lot of snakes for extraction purposes. Jim always says that it's the release where the snakes get you, or really try to get you a lot of times. So when you toss them, you got to make sure that you toss at the right moment and that their tail is not going to wrap around you and boomerang the sucker back at you. Now, he's really unhappy with me right now, so we're just going to leave him alone and let him chill out.